Welcome to this week's episode of Top Shelf Dusters, where Amanda is not here to do the intros, so apparently it falls on my shoulders. I've got nothing smart to say, and my name is Jesse. We are also joined by Ethan.
Oh, no, save me from
We are also joined by Brett.
Hey, this was my stat thing. So before this series, the Panthers were on an 8-0 streak in OT in the playoffs, and thanks to Jesse's Rangers, now we're on an 0-2 streak in overtime. It's weird to be on the losing side of overtime. It's not very fun.
We also have Cass, who's back from Maine.
This is why we need Amanda here. Jesse has 1 minute in the spotlight and he screws it up. My little segment is obviously today is Memorial Day for anyone who's tuning in today or who's listening tomorrow. So thanks to all the fallen and their families and everyone else who has sacrificed for our great country.
Yep.
And last but not least, we have Ethan. Oh no.
Se necesita una poca de gracia.
That was the most Caucasian thing I've ever heard in my life. Can you say that any whiter?
Because I wanted to do the pronunciation right, and I
you did not.
flubbed it up.
You did not do it.
But you know
right.
what? You know what? My apologies to the Edmonton Oilers, because I'm sure you don't even know what those lyrics are or what they mean.
They're all the way up in Canada. They hear Spanish like twice. So we do have some things that happened this week, starting with a trade that Brett has the details of.
Yeah, the Islanders and Blackhawks did a pick swap trade. It's weird to kind of see this before the draft, but here's the details. The Islanders get the 20th, 54th, and 61st picks, and the Blackhawks get the 18th and the 50th pick. So basically what this means is the Blackhawks traded up for 2 spots in the first round and up for 4 spots in the second round and gave the Islanders a additional second round pick to move up those spots. It's kind of weird. Again, it's weird to see this before the draft because you normally see these trades because you're like, oh boy, there's still a player available and I got to get him now. But they're doing this almost more than a full month before the draft.
So the reason why I heard that was happening is because there was speculation that the Vegas Golden Knights were going to choose the player that they wanted at 19th. That's the rumor I'm hearing. That's what I saw on Twitter. So they're like, we need to get that higher draft pick right now. So that's where it seems like that happened, or why that happened.
It's not too bad of a trade for the Blackhawks. Like I said, they don't just move up those 2 spots in the first round. They also move up 4 spots in the second round. Not too bad.
They're trying.
Additionally, there was another trade that was announced. Ethan, do you want to talk about this one? Because it's Tampa Bay.
Was it a trade or was it just a return? Return to sender.
I think it's not a bad move by Tampa. They're already loaded up with defensemen. It'll be interesting to see how they play this. I don't have the cap friendly pulled up.
What's the trade for all the people that don't know?
I think that he's still under contract. So it's really, for me, it's a matter of, can you keep some key guys like Duclair, other people who need to be re-signed? I'm trying to get cap friendly up now.
Stamkos is
the big one.
Well, Stamkos is the big one. I think it's bigger than what it actually is, as far as like in the media. I can't imagine he leaves, and I don't think he's chasing money. But I mean, you've got
a Bruin.
Oh gosh, you've got Anthony Duclair. He's up. Tyler Mott, Stamkos, and then Austin Watson. So I think it's nice for Tampa Bay fans, but it's kind of getting into this, similar to what I've said about the Carolina Hurricanes with Rod Brind'Amour. Like, you're trying to hold on to the past too much. Tampa's fighting off this, teeter-tottering of like, are we going to rebuild or can we make another run with this group? And the McDonough thing, it's great for the feels. We'll see if it pays off. But
Yeah,
Tampa fans are
So,
sorry.
yeah, I was just going to say the actual trade was Tampa Bay acquired Ryan McDonough and a 4th-round pick in exchange for, Ryan McDonough and a 2024 4th-round pick in exchange. Nashville got back a 2024 7th-round pick and a 2025 2nd-round pick.
And
that seemingly
Brett, you have a
already
point.
initially belonged to Tampa Bay. So they just. Oh no! Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
They gave them both their picks.
Yeah,
Both of those picks that Nashville got with Tampa's, but no salary retained is the kind of head scratcher here because Tampa's already against the cap.
That's what I was going to say. No salary retained, and he does have 2 years left on the contract at 6.75. Sorry, Brett, go.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna just piggyback right off what you guys are talking about because that's the big thing. They're bringing in a defenseman who's making 6.75, and like you guys mentioned, Nashville's not retaining any of that. 2 more years that now gives Tampa before the cap goes up, which I looked up just to confirm. Based on the latest reports, looks like it's going to go up 4.2, which kind of crazy.
Cap friendly. If you do look at cap friendly, it is showing the new cap.
I'm still seeing the old one, the 82.6.
Same.
Yeah.
My report was wrong.
So yeah, it'll be so right now like I said, before the cap goes up, they have basically just $5 million in cap space to assign all those guys Ethan mentioned. Potentially $4 million more, but that's only $9 million. I agree with you, Ethan, that I don't think Stamkos is chasing money, but he's not going to take like nothing. Like I expect him to at least get 6, like at least 6. And that's already most of your space right there.
34. So, okay, but it goes up. We're going to assume it goes up to what, 87?
Right.
87. So add 5. So you're looking at 10 million in projected cap space.
Maybe my math's not. So this like what I said on Sportsnet, it said 4.2. So whatever 4.2 plus that 82.6 is, what's that?
Well, so on cap friendly, it's showing, if it's not showing the new cap space.
So I
it's
got
showing
the new. This is from Bruins Cap Space. He does all the team. Tampa Bay has $5.04 million with the projected cap at 87.7. They still have to sign Duclair, Stamkos, Tyler Mott, Austin Watson, Calvin DeHaan, Hayden Fleury, a defenseman, and they have Matt Dumper as a UFA.
So and Matt Dumba or Calvin DeHaan is the guy to go if you're bringing in McDonough.
Oh, for sure.
So Catherine on our chat says no more math. It's a holiday, and I agree with her. Let's stop.
That's enough of that.
One thing that Barry Trotz had mentioned in an interview that he had right after the trade was that McDonough had requested to be traded back to Tampa Bay. So it seemed like it was like more to just not appease him, but like honor what he wanted to go back to Tampa Bay and get the band back together. Essentially, Barry Trotz had the utmost respect for Ryan McDonough. He spoke very highly of him. So it's not like the Nashville Predators didn't want Ryan McDonough. It just seems like he was doing what Ryan McDonough wanted.
Well, with that in mind, first of all, I think it's a great trade for Nashville.
Agreed.
McDonough is not going to be your guy that's really going to put you over the edge to go further in your season. But if that's the case, McDonough requesting that trade, I think Tampa got fleeced.
Yeah.
If he's demanding that specific trade, Tampa didn't have to give that much up. Good for Barry Trotz.
Anything else on that?
Oh, it's funny.
Go.
Well, I was just going to say, if I remember correctly, Tampa Bay acquired Tanner Jeannot, and Nashville got a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 2nd, and a 1st round already from Tampa, and now they get another 2nd and a 7th. They pretty much have a whole draft class just from
Tampa.
It's amazing.
Well,
it's amazing.
And here's the last thing I'll say about it, and then we can move on. It goes to what I've been screaming from my lungs in chats about Yzerman. The Tampa Bay Lightning that you saw win 2 cups, that was Yzerman. This, whatever his name is,
Brisebois. Breezeball.
Breezeball.
Where's a boy?
He sucks. He's
Well,
trying
who
to
made the
just, like,
Goodrow trade? Who made the Gord trade? Who made that third line go for Tampa in the years that they won the cup? That was all Breezewire, if I'm not mistaken. That
But
wasn't Yzerman. Yzerman was already out.
that's a matter of like putting in the last puzzle piece in a 5,000
Which you
piece
need
puzzle.
to do, though.
You do need to do that, but it's
Look at how Barbashev did last year for Vegas. You know what I
But-
mean? You needed that last piece.
you do need the last piece, and I'm not discrediting him for that, but the whole thing was built by Yzerman. And now you're looking at what you just said it and I forgot it already.
Brisbois.
Brisbois. If you look at what he's doing now, how can you say that's a good GM giving up all
He's
these picks
basically-
for single players?
You
He's basically doing what Kyle Dubas is doing, and Penguins just
Yeah.
trying to keep the band back together for nostalgia, and you're not going to go anywhere. But
Yeah.
it's
And he
just- I
doesn't
don't
even
get it.
really have the nostalgia aspect to him.
No.
you mentioned that Gord was traded. Are you talking about like from Seattle? Because Seattle claimed him in the expansion draft.
No, I'm saying like Breezeball brought the last like 2 or 3 key
Oh, I
pieces
see.
in
Okay.
for those teams.
I
I'm not
misunderstood you.
mistaken. Gord was a trade. Goodrow was a trade out of Calgary. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, he brought in those not key players, not like the Tanevs or anything like that, but those little tiny pieces that complete the puzzle. And without those, you don't win the cup. That line was crazy. Those playoff run, all 3 years.
So the long story short, for the McDonough trade, it was a loss for Tampa.
Welcome home.
Gain for Nashville.
So, moving on, if you guys are ready for
Yes,
it.
sir.
Do it.
You guys might remember, maybe you don't, Matvey Michkov. He at one point was ranked as the second best draft pick last year, right behind Connor Bedard. But because of he had a contract signed with a KHL team, SKA, St. Petersburg, for 3 years. And also there was the possibility that he just forever stays in the KHL. So he fell all the way to 7th to the Philadelphia Flyers. And it seems like it could potentially happen a lot sooner that we see him at the NHL level, because the SKA reported that it was a rumor circulating that SKA does not want Michkov, and they are looking into potentially terminating his contract. And this past season, he was basically not being played at all by SKA. He only played one game and got 5 minutes in that one game. So then he requested to be loaned out. That doesn't happen at the NHL level. If you guys follow soccer, that just basically means a club can like sell a player to play for a different team for just 1 or 2 seasons. So that's what SKA did with Michkov. So he got loaned to Sochi, and he put up 41 points in 41 points in 47 games, which is really good at the KHL level. And so basically, and again, this is still rumors, if SKA terminates the contract between themselves and Matvey Michkov, then the Flyers can sign Michkov to an entry-level deal, therefore allowing him to come over to North America and play for Philly. That's a lot of information. What do you guys think?
It
Well, I
seems
was going to say, go ahead, Jesse.
it seems
No,
like
you
the
go.
issue that Michkov is having is with the head coach of
Yeah, Medvedev.
yeah.
I saw.
He, like you said, he only played him in 4 games, and he only averaged 3.5 minutes. And for somebody who's supposed to be a pretty top dog, you're not gonna give him 3.5 minutes. He's not gonna do anything in 3.5 minutes every game.
Nope.
So loaning him off makes sense at his request. I definitely I could foresee him coming to Philly next year.
Right.
So as far as the loaning good thing goes, I remember a couple of years ago the St. Louis Blues AHL team loaned Jordan Binnington to the Providence Bruins the season, and then the next season Binnington wiped the floor with the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup
didn't know
Final.
you
So
could
it
do
was
that.
like it was a double slap in the face to Bruins fan, because I saw
Wow.
him 10 games down in Providence. I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. He's got a little spunk, and I was like, this goddamn guy's beating me again. But imagine if the Flyers next year started off with Cutter Gauthier and this Michkov kid, if they didn't trade Gauthier. That would have been a sick lineup. I mean, I know this kid has his problems, and obviously Cutter Gauthier has a little bit of an attitude problem as well. But Flyers could have been looking pretty. Obviously, Drysdale has his injury history, which is what everyone's worried about. But that's that.
I have a point, but it's gonna kind of segue us to our next point. If anyone else
okay.
wants to say something,
I want to say one quick thing, and this is going a little bit back to the McDonough trade. I didn't get to pull it up in time. Nashville Predators, $26 million in projected cap space. They have 2 first-round picks. I'm sorry, they have 1 first-round pick, 3 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks. Next year, they have 2 second-round picks, 2 first-round picks, 2 third-round picks. So they are stacked for picks, and they got the room to spend.
Barry Trotz is basically
Congratulations, Alex.
stocking up the
Crazy.
the armory. Basically, he's ready.
And all the players you care about are signed long-term there, too.
So my point about Michkov is my initial reaction when I saw the headline is there are players that come from Russia, go to the NHL, and if they get into some trouble or something like that, the KHL is always happy to welcome them. I don't know what the quote unquote politics are within the KHL. But the fact that there is a team out there, maybe it was just personal, but that a team would be that against playing a player makes me weary. I'm not saying it's going to translate once he comes here. Maybe it just is a perfect fit. There's been plenty of players who it is a perfect fit. That's my only concern with it. I think the Flyers, like we've talked about all this season, they have the pieces, they have the structure to really make a good run. This is just going to add to that if the personality works behind it.
Like I said, he did play well with Soki, right? 41
Right.
points in 47 games. He actually was the second highest score for the team, even though he played like 20 less games.
That's insane.
Yeah. So he can, I think he can fit well if he's in the right system, which is basically what you said.
And the part about the not knowing the politics within KHL teams, it's a matter of like, is Soki willing to accept players that maybe have some personal issues underlying that another team, like his previous team, was not willing to accept? And that's kind of where the segue comes in with Valeri Nichushkin. When he got into some hot water here in the NHL with the Dallas Stars, he goes to the the KHL, and a team is more than welcome to accept him with his flaws. They're not going to challenge him to try and be a better person, nothing like that. And he does fine. But then he comes back to the NHL and you look at the underlying issues coming to surface. So there's the segue into the next news point. There was a great press conference that was blasted throughout NHL news. And it was that Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche was going to have a press conference with the GM. And there was so much speculation. Is he going to give up the C? Is he retiring? Blah, 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 blah. Well, the whole press conference. Oh, yeah. Well, I personally thought maybe he was going to give up the C, but whatever their head coach name is, I forget it now.
Bednar.
Bednar, yeah. Bednar's not at the press conference, so that didn't make sense that he would give up the C without Bednar being at the press conference. And also even the retirement idea. If Bednar's not there, that's a weird thing.
Right.
And it was all for nothing, all the speculation, because Landeskog basically was there to just kind of talk about Nichushkin. And it sounds like Colorado, I don't know if it's just because of the legal aspect of it, but they're basically saying like, yeah, he's coming back. What do you guys think about that?
He's going back to Colorado?
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising.
They said that without a doubt, they will not be terminating his contract.
So are we going to have a third year in a row where he lets down his team in the playoffs and has to go back to the players' assistance program?
I hope not, but probably.
I hope not too. I mean, it would be unfortunate if that does happen, but like, let's be real here. This is the second time that this has happened. This is the second consecutive year that he's had this issue. Like, are they sure they want to hold on to a guy like this who's pretty much shown them by his own actions that he can't get over this. Like, I don't know. I think that's a risky gamble to take.
Maybe the fact that Landeskog was the one to say this is, and obviously this would just be reading into it.
No,
But
that
maybe
makes sense.
he's gonna be more accountable for Nikushin. Maybe that's why he wanted to say we can confirm it. He didn't say he was going to be, as far as I know, but maybe there's some
He-
sort of plan in place to give him more accountability.
He can be accountable to Landeskog if Landeskog plays again, if he's
Yeah.
around. And that's what blew my mind, because I really thought this would be the offseason they take the C. Not because they hate Landeskog or anything like that, but look at the LA Kings. When they took the C from Dustin Brown and put it, I don't think they immediately put it on Kopitar, but Dustin Brown's game got better. He was already kind of aging out, but the removal of a C is not always a terrible thing for a player. And so that's great if Landeskog is going to keep him accountable, but you have to be there, you know.
Landeskog did say
So-
he expects to play, though, right? Sorry, Cass.
He said he'd play anywhere between October and April next
Yeah.
year. He left it pretty wide open. I'm just curious if legally they don't want to come out and say he's done. We're not going to take Nichushkin back because the union will probably get involved and
That's
say, well,
true.
there's nothing on his contract saying if he has substance abuse problems that he can't get over, you can't pay him. Like, you know what I mean? That's the whole point of coming public and entering the program, is to try and get help. Obviously, you know, he's going in for the third time, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something legally where they don't want to kind of shoot themselves in the foot. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back in 6 months and then he gets released or something like that.
That
Or
would make
mutually
sense.
terminate or buyout.
That would make sense if they didn't make the stance they made. They could have opted to not even have this press conference. But instead, within the press conference, they make a hard stance of, we indefinitely are not going to terminate him. So it's not like by saying that, they're saying they're going to terminate him.
Right.
That would be the complete opposite. If that was the plan, and it's like, for legal reasons we can't say we're going to terminate him, then you don't even say anything at all.
But if you say something now, you kind of put the issue at rest until 6 months. And now, like, you know what I mean? If you you shut up the media by putting a statement out there for now, and then in
Yeah.
6 months, if he comes out, it might take longer than 6 months for him to go through his treatment this time too. You know what I mean?
Has there been much media attention on this issue since it happened? I really haven't heard anything about it since.
It was just that
Well,
one.
the fact that
big
it
week.
happened at the end of it happened at the end of the season, so like end of season pressers, they'd be pushing about it. So I wouldn't be
True.
surprised the team wanted to get ahead of it. You know what I mean? You know how media is; they'll just keep on prying until they get the answer they want anyway. So if you just shut them up and give them what they want ahead of time and something they can run with, and then in 6 months, kind of look at it, I wouldn't be surprised come November, December, he's either mutually terminated or he's bought out. I don't know if he technically can get bought out in the buyout window though, because he's in the program during that window in July.
If they reinstate him.
Right, that's the big thing, because he could definitely still be in the player assistance program 6 months from now. Who knows? So
Right.
Well, from what I understand about the eligibility to apply to be reinstated, I thought that was reinstated to the player assistance program and NHLPA. Or is it just reinstated to the league?
I think it's
I
reinstated
think it's
back
reinstated
to the league.
because
Okay.
he's in the players assistance program right now again for the third time.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a speculation question, but I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think Nathan McKinnon is deep down, maybe it's not something he would express vocally, but do you think he's almost wanting to be the captain?
No, I don't think he wants the
I
extra
think so.
responsibility. I think he just wants to play his game, kind of like Pasta. Pasta doesn't want any of that shit. He just wants to play his game, and that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Pasternak would already be the captain instead of Marchand if he wanted it. I at least I don't know if you agree. But I feel
I
like
think McAvoy. I think McAvoy is the next one, but that's
But
a
if
topic for a
if
couple years down the
Pasternak
road.
wanted if he went and said, "I want the C," do you think he would have gotten it?
I think Charlie's still ahead of him in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something for me, like if you don't, Austin doesn't have like that Ryan O'Reilly, the Patrice Bergeron mentality. He's too like happy-go-lucky, fun-going. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense, like the Barbie girl quote and all that.
The
shit.
best.
Like, you usually see like I know, but you usually see the more serious stuff out of someone. You know.
I would agree. I think that McKinnon's got too much attention on him as it already is to be a leader in that room and to be a leader on that team. Like giving him the C is just going to put more of that weight on his shoulders, and some people just buckle under that sort of pressure. They can't play their game the way that they want to, and I don't know if he'd want to take that responsibility on.
I think
He's already he's already such a great player. He always puts up such great points, and maybe
Right.
part of that is because he's able, like you guys all basically already said it. He's just able to focus on just being a leader on the ice with his play versus being a voice in the locker room. And he probably still is a little bit, but probably the fact that he doesn't have a C probably speaks to that.
I don't like the Austin Matthews situation in Toronto too. I think Tavares was the right choice because you just want Austin Matthews to grow as a player and keep on reaching new heights the way he is. I mean,
Well, and the thing, and this is, I'm gonna be the guy that says the opposite of everyone else.
Shocking.
surprise.
I think the Tavares thing.
Change.
That's a good highlight. He got the C because he's a veteran presence, and I roll my eyes hearing that because I hate hearing that because that's the whole thing about Ryan Suter, veteran presence. But that's what you want in a captain on the Colorado Avalanche, playing games. Who is the veteran presence for the Colorado Avalanche? I think it's Nathan McKinnon. He is bought into this system. He is blood, sweat, tears in the Colorado Avalanche. You have a player like Valeri Nichushkin who in back-to-back postseasons has let your team down because there's been a lack of accountability by leadership within the locker room. If I'm Nathan McKinnon and I personally am a type A personality, if he is also that type A personality, I can't see how he's not thinking someone's got to be in this room to prevent this.
I see where you're coming from. I understand that, but do you think that would have a hindrance on his play in games on the ice?
Not if he. I don't think. If you're a really good, sharp player mentally, I don't think it affects you, and I don't think it's affected him.
I know for Barkov, his play is only elevated since he became captain. But every player's different.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
I think if Landeskog does not play this next season, they have to get a leader.
They have to do something. They have to do something. I would say give him this next season to figure it out, see if he's able to come back. But if he can't, as unfortunate as that would be, they got to figure out what they need to do for that roster.
Well, it reminds me kind of the Shea Weber situation in Montreal. He was on the bench for a year change until they gave it to Suzuki. You know what I mean? So it's just I wonder if it's just going to become to the fact where he doesn't play any ounces of his retirement. I don't know if it's a financial thing because he still gets paid when he's on LTIR and he just wants to keep on milking the cow, or however that works. But
from what I've read, he is putting in some time. Like they have like a whole tracking thing for all of his skate times and just to show the development. It seems like we're pushing the cart down the road with this whole thing because we were talking about it in December about, it looks like he's going to be coming back. And here we are. Anyways, we can move on.
Well, this is the second season he's been out too, isn't it? We're going into the third.
Yep.
Yes, 2022 Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Was the last.
Yeah. So,
that's like
pretty sure this is.
Yeah, there was a meme. I think it was Freeze the Puck that shared it forever ago. It was the Thanos talking to young Gamora, saying, "Did you win a cup? Yes. What did it cost? Gabriel Landeskog."
So
I was gonna say, kind of like the Nick Backstrom thing. This is one of those injuries that no one's ever coming back from either. that I know of in NHL history. Like people that have had the surgery, it's just kind of like sail off into the sunset. Like you saw Backstrom come back for a little while and then he got benched again. He went back on the injury train. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward with this for sure.
So moving on from that, we've had a couple of head coach announcements and hirings that have happened over the last week. Starting off with Jim Hiller. He was named officially head coach of the Los Angeles Kings. He was promoted to interim head coach on February 2nd after the LA Kings fired Todd McClellan, and then officially got the title on, I think it was Friday. So, what do you guys think about this? Because I think that this is I think that this is Rob Blake's last go at it. For instance, he's in the last year of his contract as GM of the LA Kings. They have been ousted by the Edmonton Oilers for the last 3 years in a row in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. What's got to happen here to get this team over the hump?
I think this is going to be, it'll either be make or break with PLD this year. If Pierre-Luc Dubois sucks as bad as he sucked this year, Rob Blake's gone. End of story, in my opinion.
They're not in San Jose, Anaheim territory. Not trying to just keep it to California teams, but
You mean bottom of the Pacific?
yeah, they're not in like this dire rebuild mode, and they're not that many pieces away. It's really goaltending.
Yep.
As long as your aging players play like they did last season. So I think the Jim Hiller hire, and this is going to be a theme throughout all of these coaches we're going to talk about. It's my gripe about recycling coaches and not trying to get not younger, but guys from lower levels to come up like a Jim Montgomery. Jim Hiller, once they made that move, LA got significantly worse, in my opinion. And so the fact that they hired him and I saw the headline, I'm like, why is this your move?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same mind with you there, Ethan. They were kind of mediocre with Jim Hiller. I know they made the playoffs, but compared to how they started the season, like they started this off the season really good. Then they started falling down. They fired the coach, which was already a weird decision. Jim Hiller gets promoted to the interim head coach, and they do good enough to make the playoffs, but they still get bounced in the first round. And now we're like, hey, based on your kind of okay performance, you're going to be our head coach. It's a head scratcher.
Awarding mediocrity is just bizarre.
Basically, yeah.
Which, speaking of which, the next coach on the list is Sheldon Keefe. And it goes again. Why are you recycling failed coaches? He gets hired by the New Jersey Devils, and I don't know that that's an upgrade for you Devil fans out there from Lindy Ruff, to be honest.
I'm very excited about this hiring because I know that they're never going to get past the first round as long as Sheldon Keefe is head coach of the New Jersey Devils. And I'm fine with that.
Keefe did win. Don't forget, he did win a Calder Cup in the AHL.
Yeah, but that was
great for the AHL.
And he won one playoff round in the NHL. Congratulations.
It's interesting because other hockey podcasts I've been listening to, they say, "Oh, he's good with younger players. He's good with younger players." Is he though? Like, yeah, the core four always do well in the regular season, but he couldn't get them to that next level in the playoffs. So how good is he really at pushing the right buttons in the playoffs to get them to do what they need to do? Yeah, Jack Hughes, the Jesper Bratt, the Mercer, they all need to do what they need to do in the playoffs in order to kick the crap out of the Rangers. We don't know if that's going to happen or not yet. But with that being said, they need to figure out goaltending. Olmark is on the market. Jack Hughes for Olmark straight up. I'll do it. Done.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, is the mindset for the Devils like, hey, if we get Sheldon Keefe in here, he's going to help some of our players be the next Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner? No, that's not how that works. He didn't do anything for them. They're just really good players.
Cass brought up the goaltending, and that just made me think that Sheldon Keefe is going right back into a very similar goaltending situation. And clearly, Sheldon Keefe is not great at elevating goaltenders. I mean, the young guy for the Leafs,
Wall?
Wall.
Yeah,
Samsonov
Joseph
Wall.
Wall. Joseph Wall. He had his moments, but I think it's the same thing like Ethan said. I think it's just a player. I don't know how much it is Keith.
None of
Yeah,
it.
I think he's just moved across the border and he basically has the same team with less talent.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Jake Allen, Capo Caco for your goalies. Ugh.
And it's not like Jim Hiller was the only interim coach that was not that successful that got promoted. Scott
Arneal.
Arneal. You know,
Yes.
he was named the permanent head coach for the Jets now that Rick Bowness has stepped away. And I actually take back what I said because when Rick Bowness stepped away for family matters, Arneal actually did a pretty good job. I think that's really when the Jets kind of propelled, no pun intended, forward in the standings.
Jets don't have
kind
propellers.
They
They have jet
That's-
engines.
it depends how old of a jet.
Anyway,
As far as Arneal's past coaching thing, so he filled in for Rick Bowness a couple times this season, but the last time he had a head coaching position, I would be shocked if anyone remember this. I
the
didn't. I just
Columbus
looked it
Blue
up.
Jackets.
Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, come on.
Oh,
Brett.
come on, you guys.
2010.
I didn't know, Brett. I didn't know.
These guys, they just looked it up already. I don't.
The Blue
He was
Jackets
fired
are
on January
original
12th.
6, so I don't know about them.
He went 34, 35, and 13 with them. He did miss the playoffs, and then halfway through the following season, he was fired, and that was in 2012. He was an AHL coach for a while. Did decent. He did make the Calder Cup Finals once. He lost it. One thing that's interesting as far as the tie-in with Winnipeg is that's who he was originally drafted by in 1981, 22nd overall by the Winnipeg Jets. So that's kind of cool.
I think of all of the head coaching hires, I feel like he's. Never mind. I'm not going to finish that sentence.
It's just something kind of new.
You're not wrong.
I mean, it's been over 10 years since he was last a head coach in the NHL. I feel like he's learned a lot. I mean, I remember when he was an assistant and associate with the New York Rangers. I think that he did a really good job when he was stepping in for Rick Bowness. He was 15-7-3 as when he was an interim head coach while Bowness was gone in 25 games. So he's got a winning record while Bowness is gone. Obviously, that's a very small sample size, but I think that you guys are looking for new coaches. This guy's not very new, but this is his first stint as an NHL head coach in over a decade. So I think that this is probably the best we're going to get right now.
There are better options out there.
Oh, I agree.
They are.
And,
I agree.
And it goes to all of these hires. It's like I mentioned this in a chat about the Devils hiring of Sheldon Keefe. It almost felt like a FOMO, fear of missing out kind of thing, where you don't know what's going to be available.
Right.
You're too scared to dip into the NCAA, AHL, ECHL, whatever. Just get him. And the Arneal, I think it's going to work out for the Jets, and kind of what Jesse was getting to. It's kind of the best of all of them. I think that's what you're getting to, Jesse.
I don't want to say it's the best out of all of them because I mean, like, at least Sheldon Keefe made the playoffs, right? But out of all of them, it's nice to have kind of a breath of fresh air, whereas you kind of don't really know what to expect from Scott Arneal, whereas Sheldon Keefe's only going to win 0 rounds in the playoffs as head coach of the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, and Arneal is he's taking Rick Bowness's spot, and Rick Bowness, that's how he became a head coach. He was an assistant coach, became interim when Jim Montgomery was dismissed from the team, and had some success with the Stars in the 2020 Stanley Cup final run, and did well for Winnipeg for the most part. I mean, you're trying to make gold out of cow poop, but so be it.
Let me know when you find out how to do that, please.
Please.
Let me
Go
know.
right back up to me.
I'll just go down the street.
No, it's interesting too because like the New Jersey Devils hiring Keefe kind of is like, oh crap, we missed out on Berube. We need another big name. Let's bring in Sheldon Keefe. Where like I think McClellan, a former coach of the LA Kings, would have been way better.
Yeah.
Like he's has more of a resume. He's had more success in the league. The other big thing for the Devils is Dougie Hamilton coming back next year. I think that's going to be a big difference for their whole team. He's
They
a game
definitely
changer
missed
for them.
him. Yeah.
So, but yeah, the Scott Arniel thing. It's like, who really wants to go play in Winnipeg anyway? Coach in Winnipeg. But the
fans
Devils,
don't even
I
want to go into Winnipeg.
I'm surprised the Devils didn't go after the David Carl of Denver or like a Jay Pandolfo at BU or something like that. And just they got the young players. They got a decently stacked team where a coach won't go in thinking they're the David Quinn of the San Jose Sharks. You know what I mean? So they got talent there that the coach can be excited about. So, I don't know.
I had a brief conversation with Brandon, Colorado Avalanche fan. He's the
I'm sorry.
owner of Freeze the Puck Hockey, sister page.
Oh, you just outed him.
He's been on the podcast.
Been a while.
He mentioned that there's no way. What's his name? Denver coach.
David Carl.
Yeah, he surely got offers, but it sounds more like he has declined offers
He'd
to
rather
just
stay
stay
in
there.
Well, he said as much in an interview that I heard. He's like, I want to wait for the right thing to come along. I'm not going to go to like a San Jose Sharks or even like a crappier Anaheim Ducks. Like I thought he would have.
There's a
waited for
crappier
Buffalo
team than
Sabres.
San Jose?
Yes, they're called
Oh.
the New York Rangers. No, just kidding.
Eastern
I can't
Conference
even
Final,
make that
baby.
joke 'cause
Come
I
on.
That was
gonna say,
so
I can't even make
bold.
that joke.
Eastern
Dang it.
Conference Final, man.
How many
They're up
cups?
2-1.
Yes.
Listen, I know my team has 4 cups, okay? I am aware of it. You don't need to remind me every friggin' week.
Let's go around the circle and see who has the most.
One.
We all have 0. We have never been rostered or managed a team at the
I
NHL.
don't know. I got a picture of my wife with a Boston Bruins ring, so that's good.
Listen,
Okay.
as a fan, they get their energy directly from me, so
Oh, okay.
He's an honorary cup member.
From that 94 cup run, it was all
Unreal.
teenage Jesse right there.
teenage
Yeah.
Jesse, you're making me a lot older than I actually
gonna say,
am. I
he's
was
very
4. I was
Infant-
4.
inf- toddler Jesse was giving them all the energy for that night.
I was still pooping my
Right.
pants, Brett. Maybe, I don't know.
Learned how to swear that night.
Yeah,
I'm pooping your pants at 4, Jesse. Oh my gosh.
probably. I'm still pooping my pants now,
That's why-
man.
That's why you smell that cow poop down the street. It's really you.
Gosh.
Speaking
Moving
of
on.
cow poop, Don Waddle.
Waddle?
Waddle,
Waddle,
baby,
Waddle,
Waddle,
Waddle.
Waddle, baby, Waddle.
I hate you guys.
I went the duck song, and you're
We need a
completely
man
the
to
180.
do this.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
went back to
chime in
middle
here.
school dances. He resigned from the Carolina Hurricanes GM position right after extending Rod Brindamore as head coach. And he is expected, it's not official, but they're supposedly going to announce it sometime this week, maybe, to be the Columbus Blue Jackets head of hockey operations. So staying within the division.
This is a surprise to me. This is not the
Yeah.
direction I expected them to take. I thought that Brindamore would be out and Waddell would try and find someone else. Instead, we have the complete opposite where Brindamore gets extended for whatever reason and Waddell goes to the Columbus Blue Jackets for God only knows why. Eric,
They need somebody.
They do need
Someone's gotta
some-
do it.
they do, because there has been no mention about the Columbus Blue Jackets GM position since they got rid of the Finnish
Finnish
guy,
dude.
the Finnish guy whose name I can't
Kirk
remember.
Alignment. Jarmo
There's almost been-
Kekalainen.
Thank you.
There's almost been no Columbus Blue Jacket news other than pretty much the last big thing was the oh my gosh, I can't remember his name.
Patrick
Coach.
Laine? Oh,
No.
Babcock.
Babcock. Like that's the last big thing I can remember us talking about.
I know exactly why he left.
Why?
And I will tell you, right. Carolina Hurricanes, UFAs, Gensel, Teravainen, Martin Hook, Brady Shea, Brett Pesci, Chatfield, and Ranta. RFAs, Drivus, Nikas, Jack Jury, and Coughlin. Columbus Blue Jackets, UFA, Lankenberg, never heard of the EMFer. RFAs, Kent Johnson, Sillinger, Marchenko, Texiera, and Chenkakov. Oh, they have like no one to sign basically, and they have 24 mil in cap space. So he's got no work to do. Like
So
it's
you're
like a no-brainer. He's like a work from home basically.
What you're saying? Waddell stepped down because he did not want to have the pressure
He
of signing
didn't
all
want to
these
deal with
guys.
the headache of hearing Amanda and Nick talk about him on the podcast anymore. So
That was it. Yeah.
That's got to be
Bullied
it.
my
him too
big,
much.
I made my big moves at the trade deadline. It didn't work out. You all suck. I'm out. Peace.
Sorry,
have
Jesse.
Justin Williams.
I interrupted you. Make your point.
You interrupted me. No, that's fine. Eric Tulsky was named interim GM, and the full search has begun for a permanent general manager. If you don't know who Tulsky is, he spent 10 seasons with the Hurricanes. He joined the organization as a consultant in 2014, became a hockey analyst in 2015, named manager of hockey analytics in 2017. This dude has an impressive resume outside of hockey. He has a bachelor's in chemistry and physics from Harvard and a PhD in chemistry from University of California, Berkeley. And prior to being involved in hockey, he was a hockey blogger who got hired by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Nice.
Pretty
I'm
awesome.
available, Boston.
From a blogger to being hired by an NHL team.
And
But he's
now,
also a chemist.
he's interim
think they-
GM.
It's wild.
So-
That's crazy.
So
He
you're
needs
just
to pay
saying
off those
out
student
of, out
loans.
of out of nowhere, someone could call one of us if we make.
Oh, my phone's ringing right now.
Right.
It's Chris Drury. Give me 1 second.
This was actually.
You
the
want me to go-
episode I was gonna-
You want me to go what myself? That's messed up, Chris.
This was the episode I was actually going to let you guys know I'm stepping away from the podcast. 'cause I got hired.
By the Dallas.
If the organization is coming after you, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it'd be beneficial. We'll get into that later. But like, talk about the American dream with this guy. Like going from basically blogging for free to doing this. I mean, he probably needs the money to pay off his student loans from wherever the hell he went. But good for him.
Harvard
Man.
and
Shows-
UFC Berkeley.
That's wild.
Nuts.
Good for him. Hopefully
Poor
he's
guy's
successful.
got to deal with all those UFAs.
And now he's got to
He'll be
re-sign
in line.
Gensel.
But if there's any person out there who could do it, I'm sure a PhD in chemistry would.
He'll call
would
back
be
on
able to
that
figure
to
it
make
out.
the cap work for sure.
You have an
Uh,
open invitation, sir, to come on our podcast and tell us how dumb we all are.
Oh, he doesn't need to
it-
remind me. I know.
yes.
I'm aware.
this would be a great time to ask Amanda her thoughts. Amanda, what are your thoughts? Just kidding.
Ring, ring.
She is out, as Jesse mentioned at the top, and she's out with a sick kid. So we wish them the
One of
best.
the
and
8 she
pray for
has.
them.
Yes.
But now that we've talked about awful head coach hirings, we've talked about awful GM moves. Let's talk
I
about
want
good
this one.
coach and good GMs.
So Rick Tocchet has won the Jack Adams Award, which means Cassidy won $30 on his bet. Yeah,
How much did you bet?
can't do that. Never mind. $5 to win 30.
Nice. That's
Oh.
fine. That's a return.
It's like,
That
I
was
got,
an easy win.
sorry for the 3 of you. I also have a $20 bet in for the Dallas Stars to win the cup to win 300. So
I'm not.
Well, you're gonna
don't
lose that
apologize to
one.
me.
maybe, but I got a 25% chance to win it. Too, I have a better chance of winning that than my Bruins bet has right now.
Did we
It's already
all
been
pick?
closed out.
Did we all pick Rick Tocchet to win?
I think I said
I'm pretty
brunette.
sure.
Don't have that
I
Oh.
upstairs. I
Jesse
don't
may
that
have
on me.
picked Brunette just because he's a
No,
slightly
no,
closet
Jesse.
Predators fan.
You no, I'm pretty sure Jesse, you picked Tocchet.
That was
Because I made
so
the-
far ago.
I made the joke about I thought Rick was gonna win.
That's right.
Brett thought I was gonna say Rick Bonus. I said Rick Tocchet, and then you were like, I agreed with you. Then Rick Tocchet.
Thanks for
and I
reminding
think-
me.
Yeah, Kat, you were right. You're welcome. If you
Don't-
want to think
don't
you were
have it.
wrong, though, that works.
I mean, he deserves it though, right?
No-brainer.
There's
No-brainer.
there's no doubt
look
about who should have gotten this award. Tocchet turned the Vancouver Canucks around. It's unfortunate that they got eliminated in the
Is it?
second round. For me, it is because I wanted to go up
It's unfortunate
there.
because you want a repeat of the '94 finals.
There was another stat that I have to show you guys that was 94 related, but I digress. It was unfortunate for me because I wanted to go up there and see another game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wait,
That
Especially
makes
if it was the
What's
finals,
stat?
you have got to see your team without
That would have
having
been great.
to travel across the country.
I will though.
Jesse, if how far is Edmonton from you? I'm not too familiar with that.
Um,
far.
It'd be a pretty long drive.
It's
Would you
a
go
long
for-
drive.
Would you go
Edmonton
for a
is
final game?
north.
I might. It depends. I mean, I might
you-
I might go to Dallas too, so we'll see.
I was just gonna say, would you fly down to Dallas? Oh,
It
boy.
depends.
You just
We're gonna see. We're gonna see
Guaranteed
what's
to win
happened
pretty
because
much. Okay,
I'm not gonna hold my breath. We'll talk about how the Rangers have been performing a little bit.
Is that
later.
where you'll tell us this other 94 fact?
No, I have to pull it up.
Oh, okay. One thing I will say, when we did like our early predictions, it was earlier in the season. Vancouver was the team to beat. I think we all
100%,
thought
yeah.
that they're the team that you've got to get them out. It's fortunate for me, and teams in the West, but they're a force to be reckoned with for the next few years. And
Yep.
who knows what they're going to do this offseason.
If they have a fully healthy Demko, I think that's good. It sounds, Kaz, I don't know if that seems like that's what you were going to say, but
yeah, 100%.
Demko
And
going
they-
out was huge.
They lost a lot of mojo, I feel like, when they traded for Lindholm. Like, he didn't fit their system, I feel like. At least not in the regular season. In the playoffs, it was a little bit of a different story. I haven't watched too much the last week, but the Demko thing killed them. And that Seeloff's kid played outstanding for what he
Insane.
was. What he was built for, an AHL goalie. He was outstanding, and he kept him in it for what he could. But, I mean, Demko's a different creature, too, so...
Pedersen also, I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
saw, he made some statement about like he's happy to kind of just take some time away and deal with the thoughts of how, quote, shit he played. And so like he recognizes that his game diminished. I think he was hurt, and there was a really bizarre hit where his head went into the boards, and after that it just kind of went downhill. So have a healthy team and GM of the Year finalists were announced, and Brett and I are both going to be happy about this.
2 of the same 3 from last year.
Yeah, you've got Jim Nill of the Dallas Stars, who won it last year, Patrick Alvin from the Vancouver Canucks, and Bill Zito from the Florida Panthers.
I feel like
guys
one of us mentioned that Patrick Alvin was going to win it. Who was it? Oh, it was me. I said it.
Did you?
I did. And
Geez, I don't
Cass
remember this at all.
Cass gave me shit for it.
I think I'm the one who mentioned Jim Nill should win it again.
I kind of was looking up some stuff about this award, and it has not been given out that much. Like if Jim Nill wins it, he'll only be the second GM to have won the award twice. Like it's only been like a hold on, I had it pulled up and now I lost it. It's only been given out since 2010. So only 14 years. Kind
So
of crazy.
if Jim Nill wins it, should we rename the award to the Jim Nill GM Award?
The Jim
Not
Nill
before
Lou
the Selke
Lamoriello
becomes
award.
the Bergeron.
Here's
So-
my pitch. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, for this award, and kind of coach to a certain extent, I look at recency bias because it's voted on at the end of the year. At the trade deadline, Jim Nill got his big fish, Chris Tanev. Bill Zito got Tarasenko, and lesser degree, but he's still impactful. In Okposo, has played well in the playoff games that I've seen him. And then Alvin got Zadoros and Elias Lindholm. So that's how I look at it. And to me, I think it's Alvin, as Jesse said.
Well, let
Alvin
me
and
give you my
Chipmunks.
pitch. I wanted to go back and find the episode where we were doing the division outlooks before the season, and we recapped
That was a long time
what
ago.
happened in the off season. And I brought up the big moves Jim Nill made: Matt Duchene, Craig Smith, what's his first name? Steele. I always forget his first name. Sam
Sam.
Steele. Big moves, and I'm pretty sure all of you were like, those guys.
Who the
that's
hell is Sam
exciting."
Steele?
And I said, these are depth signings. It's going to make the Dallas Stars a deep team. And look at the team. The whole reason we're where we're at is the depth. It's
I agree.
insane. So look at the Tanev trade. Don't forget about the microtransactions Jim Nill made about with Logan Stankoven. Once they brought him up in February, every day they were doing microtransactions just to keep the cap under control. then look at all those depth signings last summer. I'll be shocked if he doesn't win. Not
So I'll-
biased though.
So I'll give
No?
a pitch for Bill Zito, and it's actually for a lot of the similar reasons, because of depth signings. If you guys remember, going into this season, the Panthers were only really had one defenseman left from last year, which was Gustav Forsling, because Ekblad and Montour were both on LTIR to start the season. So Zito's got basically one defensive decor and goes out and signs like, where'd it go? I had this up.
That was
OEL,
impressive.
Mike
I remember
Riley.
talking about that.
Yeah, we signed Oliver Ekman Larson. If this could pull up faster for me, Nico
You guys-
Mikkola, Dmitry Kolikov, and then out of nowhere from Latvia, Uvis Balinskis, who had a pretty solid season for being a guy who's never played in North America before this year. And that's just defense. He brought in Evan Rodriguez, who's been a pretty big part of our run here so far. Obviously the
big elbow.
Tarasenko trade. The elbow. Oh yeah, it was rough. Also Kevin Stenlin, who's been on our second penalty kill line. So these are guys that are depth players who have played big roles. And Cass already mentions the trades, Tarasenko, Okposo. So I think Zito's done a lot to deserve it. I wouldn't be surprised if Nil wins it again, but I do think Zito has done enough to win it, if he does.
I put them at 1-2.
Yeah.
Jesse, are you sticking to your guns?
I am going to stick to my guns because I said it already. And I don't remember why I said it because I don't have my notes in front of me, but I said it. So that's what I'm sticking with. And Cass, what about you? Oh, okay. You're coming back. Welcome back.
Cass, who's your official pick?
Alvin. I feel like Dallas was there last year. Florida was there last year. Vancouver came out of nowhere, and Tocchet is a big part of that, but also the additions the GM had a huge part in that, in my opinion.
Just don't bet money on it. All right, let's move on to international news. Cass, you brought this one up in our chat, so I'll let you take it.
Well, we were talking about a couple weeks ago about the U.S. Four Nations goalies, assuming it's going to be Hellebuck and Thatcher Demko are pretty much guaranteed, and who the third goaltender would be, whether it would be Swayman and Ottinger. I wanted to know, Brett and Jesse, if your opinion on who it would be between those two has changed after this playoffs.
Who was the two?
So I think Hellebuck and Thatcher Demko are almost shoo-ins.
If you
this point-
assume they're 1 and 2.
If
Okay.
you assume they're 1 and 2, who would you choose as a third between Jake Ottinger or Jeremy Swayman?
I feel like I almost am gonna move Demko out of the three and go Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman.
Ooh,
I don't hate that.
I don't hate that either.
I mean, obviously, a lot of it depends on how the first half of next season goes, but
You want your yogurt?
Yes.
Please.
I
I would
do
like
want
my
my yogurt.
yogurt.
I'll take some yogurt.
Yeah, I'd almost move Hellebuck after the abysmal performance he had in high stress
That's where I was going.
situations. That's where I'm at, but
I think that's a reasonable swap because he just did not look good in the playoffs, and every one of those other goaltenders, aside from Demko's injury, looked light years ahead of Hellebuck.
well, that's where I'm at too. Like I would have said trying not to put a bias on it. Swayman was behind at 3, but after the performance he had this year,
He should
feel
be
like
one.
He's right up. He should be one of the 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, but let's go
Oh.
back to the question at hand. If you have to pick
Yeah.
between Swayman
If-
and Ottinger,
If you only got one goalie spot and it's Swayman or Ottinger.
Swayman.
Cass says Swayman. I say Ottinger. Jesse, you said Swayman.
Yes.
Idiot. Don't be an idiot, Brett.
Got
So
a
I
lot
have.
worse.
So you're saying I have to pick between those two?
You have to pick
Swayman,
Ottinger,
Ottinger.
basically.
I have to pick.
He's giving
I'll
you
tell
no
what,
other
he's looked-
option,
he's
or you're an
looked
idiot.
Really good. I've followed the Western Conference Finals, if not more than the Eastern Conference Finals, because of my weird superstition that I can't seem to get rid of that I wish I could.
Just keep
They
watching.
lost. They lost. You didn't watch yesterday. It's
I
over.
know. Yeah, no, I think I think both will be good, but yeah, I can go with Ottinger, especially
Yeah,
because
it's a
I've been
smart
demanded
pick.
to do so.
Well, look, if
Swayman.
we look at
Swayman has a 933 save percentage. Jake Ottinger has a 922 save percentage.
goals against average, though, Swayman
215.
2.15, Ottinger 2.04, and
does
he's
have a
played
better-
more games.
Defense in front of him though. Jake Ottinger. So
Speaking of depth, right?
Jeremy Swayman has allowed less goals too.
Here's one thing I'll say
he's-
though.
he's
Jake
also-
Ottinger has 2 penalty minutes in 1 point. So
1
Here's one-
point. How many points does Swayman have?
Jeremy Swayman's number 1. It says it on the back of his jersey. I don't know what else to tell you. We can move on.
Here's one thing I'll say. Like, what a good problem for US to have. Like, oh boy, well, who are we gonna put at 3? Ottinger or Swayman? Like,
Oh no!
that's
Yeah.
What a terrible dilemma.
US goaltending. I think is better than Canadian goaltending right now. I think Russia probably number 1. Then probably put USA at 2. I'd probably have to look a little bit more into it, but just thinking about it off the top of my head, I've gone Russia at 1, USA at 2.
While we're talking international stuff, the IIHF Men's Worlds Championship, however you say it, it concluded yesterday, and Chechnya won. And it's their first gold medal win in the history of their time playing in this tournament. And it was great for them. They were hosting the tournament, so that makes it even better. And then the cherry
It's
on
fixed.
top.
Rigged.
It's fixed. The cherry on top is that Jaromir Jagr was inducted to the IIHF Hall of Fame, and he's the first active player to be inducted as an active player. So all around, great time over in Chechnya. One thing I will say is it's going to be a little bit different than the Four Nations tournament or the Olympics because there are still a lot of players playing NHL hockey. So they're, especially Team Canada, Team USA, they were missing
Team
some
Finland.
guys that Finland, yep. They were missing guys who will be in that lineup. But Pasternak still had some comments, and I'll let Cass talk about that.
So basically, the way I'm looking at this is Pasta threw the series against the Florida Panthers so he can go play for his home country. So you're welcome, Brett. It actually was a give me.
I thank them.
No, I mean, you saw how he was like, we need to start winning. You know, he made a bunch of comments about the Four Nations tournament, like how can you not include Chechnya? And I mean, it was a 1-0 game, but it was a typical Pasternak snipe for that one goal.
I think
So-
Jesse has a
and-
flashback of the episode where we talked about that, right, Jesse? You gonna play?
What?
Look
So,
at
so
that.
we seem to do a pronunciation thing, and so I just want to figure out if I've been saying it wrong. It feels like you guys are throwing an N in there, Chechnya. I thought it was just Czechia. That's how I say it.
There's a
just wrong?
spelling.
Czechoslovakia. How does that sound?
It sounds like that country doesn't exist anymore.
There's a spelling
Czechia?
of it with instead of the IA at the end, it's like NYA.
And
Maybe it
and
all
it used,
depends on translation.
and it used to be Czech Republic, right? Not even that long ago. So it's
Yeah. Which did you guys, just really quick side note, did you guys know Turkey is no longer called Turkey?
Wait, what?
It's-
Nope.
it's
What?
This happened in 2021.
When?
The UN
What is it now?
approved it. It is back to what it used to be, which is like Turkey. Lots of umlauts and
But that makes it a lot more difficult to say. So
yeah.
it's
They
still
were tired
Turkey.
of the sandwich meat references.
Ironically, on the way to a Dallas Stars playoff game, there were some people with suitcases on the train, and I asked where they were from, and they said Turkey. And I had just learned about this, and I asked them which they preferred, and they said
Like,
Turkey.
"Yay!"
They preferred
Ethan
turkey.
must have been so
They preferred
excited
turkey,
to use his
yeah.
Jeopardy knowledge.
I
Wh-
learned it from Good
people.
Mythical Morning.
Which nomenclature do you prefer? Anyway,
He's like correcting them on their home country. This is amazing.
do you
No, but,
Sorry for that.
Pasta-
Quit. That. Sorry.
go ahead?
I was gonna say, so yeah, Pasternak's home country, which we don't know how to pronounce, won the tournament. So good for them. They
The
actually
country
had a clip of
formerly
him.
known. as Czech
Yeah,
Republic.
they had a clip of him on the bus with raising whatever trophy it is. So good for him, Zaka, Mrazek, and everyone else on that team.
It's
What-
great timing.
What did he say about the Four Nations?
Basically, that it's BS that it was only 4. And
He was upset that they were
Chechnya.
counted out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Do you think that's going to have a sway on the NHL's decision to bring them in?
Maybe for future tournaments, not this one.
Yeah, I think they've marketed it too much as a Four Nations to switch it now. Honestly, that's
You'd
my-
have to
that's my
add.
humble opinion. Yeah. Let me put it this way: if we all know the BS that's happening with Russia right now, somehow if that changes, you would think the NHL wants Russia in this tournament. I think it might be Czechia and Russia if they end up doing it, but I think it's too late in the game now. It's less than a year away, in my humble opinion.
Like who would you switch out? You're not going to switch out the U.S. You're not going to switch out
No one-
Canada.
no.
Then it comes down to Sweden and Finland.
Dude, right now Switzerland is ranked above the US and Sweden. Switzerland.
That's because all the U.S. players are still playing right now.
What do they have besides Nico Hischier?
Roman Josi, man.
Oh, well, there I go. I guess I'll just die.
But those are the two big ones, Nico Hischier and Roman Josi. But I would think I always go think Roman Josi first.
Where are the Aho's from? Are they?
Finish.
Sebastian Aho's from Finland, and then the other Sebastian Aho's from Sweden.
Oh, okay.
The good Sebastian Aho is from Finland.
That's right.
I don't know which one you're referring to.
He's the one on the team that got eliminated last round by the 2023-24 New York Rangers.
Okay. I didn't know if you were taking a dig at Carolina or New York Islanders.
I would never say that any player on the Islanders is good. Ever. Regardless of it being true or not. Sorokin sucks.
So yeah, congrats to Czech. Yeah, the Czech Republic,
So-
Czechians, Czechs, check marks.
Yager's Nation.
So let's play another goalie game and pretend it's a Six Nation tournament. Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, Sorokin, Shesterkin. Leave one out.
Leave one
That's
out.
Mary kill. No, just kidding. Yeah, leave one out.
Sorokin.
Vasilevsky.
I don't know. I feel
I think we're all gonna have different answers.
like I know I'm the Panthers fan here, but I think I'd still pick Bob to be left
no.
out of that 3.
Okay.
I'm the
Okay. Yeah,
same
we're
way.
all talking.
I'm the
We're
same way.
removing one. Yeah.
Removing
Yes.
one.
So,
You said
Like,
you're
if
the,
I
very
was-
pessimistic.
Dude. Hold on.
you said you're the same, Cass?
Yogurt spill. Yeah. Bobrovsky would be my leave out. He's too streaky. He's hot and cold. At least I feel like Sorokin, Shesterkin, and Vasilevsky have that upper tier. I feel like if Sorokin needs a better defense in front of him, I feel like he's a good goalie.
No, they don't.
But if he was,
Oh no.
He doesn't need
What?
he doesn't
No, they
need
don't.
anything.
what do they have? Pelican, Pollock, and then who else?
I don't care.
I feel like, if Shesterkin was on the Islanders and Sorokin was on the Rangers, your answer would be different.
Well, thank God that's not the way that it ended up.
So,
I think that Bobrovsky has been, well deserving of winning the Vezina this season. He's been insane for that team. I think I would keep him over Sorokin, but I do agree with you that Sorokin doesn't have the best defensive structure in front of him. So
yeah, I feel like if he was on Tampa Bay, New York Rangers, or Florida Panthers, he would be more. I feel like he reminds me of Barkov of 5 or 6 years ago, where he's underrated because of the team that he's playing with.
Dude, we could just trash the Panthers right now. Hurry.
Yeah, they
Panthers suck. Okay.
Okay. So I think we all agree that Bob sucks and he's overpaid. Oh,
I don't think he sucks, but he definitely is overpaid.
yes, excellent. No, actually, Carey Price is overpaid. But moving on.
Cass, you go.
Someone else want to take the last little bit of international news? Go for it.
That was it.
Played on all our teams, so someone has to choose.
that was it.
I think that was it.
The Yager thing.
Yeah, we talked about it.
We talked about it.
I'll die.
Okay.
So,
Have fun.
has anyone watched WHL at all this final?
I haven't watched it, but I get the updates on Twitter and everything, so I kind of know what's been going on without watching it.
So,
I like
so
playing in the
basically,
background.
It's a best of 5 series, and last night was Game 4. In Minnesota, Minnesota had a 2-1 lead, 2-1 series lead. So if they win another game, they win the cup. Goes into double overtime. Minnesota scores. Hats come off. Streamers go crazy. Gloves go flying. Sticks go flying. Boston challenges for a goalie interference. Goal gets called back.
Wow.
Oh my
On the
god.
helmet. Pick up their
Oh my
sticks.
God.
Boston scores. Goes to Game 5 on Wednesday in
sucks.
Boston. Needless to say, I will be turning into this because this is hilarious. I think it's glorious. I think it's exactly what the sports need. Because I was in Maine with my in-laws, my father, my brother, and now they're all going to be tuning in as well on Wednesday to watch it. So I think it's exactly what a women's hockey league needs to take off.
Where in Maine were you? What?
It's called Friendship. It's on the east coast of Maine, about 2.5 hours of Bath.
That's my favorite
There
way
you
to
go.
You
kill.
went so serious
It
with
is.
your face.
That's my favorite
I
way
know.
to kill someone in
Ethan-
Mortal
Ethan
Kombat.
thought I would like crack. He would crack me up because I've been saying Friendship for 15 years, so it's like it's just another town in Maine for me at this point.
The one great thing to bring up with the PWHL, if you guys didn't know this, it happened in the first round. So Toronto was facing Minnesota. Like Kat said, it's a best of 5, so first to 3 wins. Toronto's up 2-0 in their series against Minnesota, and then Minnesota reverse sweeps them. They win 3 straight games, and Toronto blows it in the first round. So just sticking with Toronto playoff performances right there.
But
I mean-
but it's it's not common for Minnesota to do well. So at least there's that, right?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's about time someone steps up to make Minnesota the state of hockey because the men's teams aren't doing it. So it's someone's got to do it.
Somewhat. Of course, it
so-
was against Toronto.
Cass, when did you say the final game will be?
Wednesday at 7 p.m. Oh, there's probably
It will-
nothing
it will
better
be
on
a
Wednesday
Dallas-
at 7 p.m.
Well, there's a
Yeah,
Dallas
like I said,
Stars
there's
game.
nothing better on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Oh,
So yeah, that's the PWHL. Let's talk about some conference finals. Obviously, still being played, both of them. But we'll just give some quick thoughts to kind of wrap this episode up. And Jesse, Brett, one of you take
that's
it away.
who it
'cause-
was. Sorry, Blake Coleman was the third player on the Tampa Bay team that Breezewalk got.
Oh yeah,
Dude, that is
My
such
bad.
an old callback at this point.
It just
I
popped
really-
up. Someone's interviewing him for a podcast.
45
My
minutes later.
apologies.
I really wanted Blake Coleman to come to Dallas after that because he's
glad
actually
he didn't?
he's from Dallas, and I'm glad they didn't go after him because he kind of sucks now.
Brett, would you like to go first?
I guess I can. So, Florida started off strong. Obviously, 3-0 shutout. Bob looked really good. We were able to get basically get one past Igor because we can't count the Lafreniere one really. It counts on the scoreboard, but we can't count it as us getting it past Igor.
And the third was empty net.
Third one was empty net. That's right. So I was feeling pretty confident after that. I wasn't gonna say like Panthers in 4. No way was that gonna happen. And clearly now, it's not gonna happen. The Rangers responded very well. They couldn't seem to solve the Panthers' forecheck in game 1. They were able to do much better in game 2. They were able to get the game to overtime thanks to Sam Reinhart botching a wide open net, just like it just reminded me of Adrian Wondolowski's absolute botching miss in the 2010 World Cup against Belgium. Still remember it. And then Barkov rang one off the post also with an empty net. So we had our opportunities, let the Rangers finish it in OT in game 2. And then yesterday, I saw this horrible statistic yesterday that the Panthers winometer was at 82%. So like we win that game 82% of the times, but Bob allowed 3.4 more goals than he was expected, which means he had a horrible game. We lost that game in overtime. We came back, which was cool, but Rangers have won 2 straight in overtime after, like I said at the intro of the podcast, the Panthers had won 8 in a row before that. Bobrovsky had won 11 playoff overtime games in a row before this. What are we going to do?
The Florida Panthers yesterday, I believe, had 100 plus
100
shot attempts.
And the Rangers
Where
had like 47.
The Rangers
right?
had like, I think it was like 37. It was less than 40.
37.
Yeah. The Rangers do not deserve to be ahead in this series. If it were not for Igor Shesterkin, we would be down 3-0. The way that they have been playing has been it's just been abysmal sometimes to watch. The only players on the top 6 that have looked good is Alexis Lafreniere, and that's it. I actually
Don't want to give it to Trocheck?
Trocheck's not. I haven't really seen Trocheck since the Carolina series, and I just went into the grocery store and found a milk carton that has Artemi Panarin on it because he hasn't been anywhere either.
Is that an NHL player?
I think so. I think so.
You credit that to Florida shutting down your top 2 lines, or do you think they just aren't on their game right now?
I just think they're not on their game. I don't really feel like they're meshing well right now. I mean, we're getting goals from Barclay Goodrow, who had 4 goals in the regular season.
He's got 3.
And now I think he's got more than that, isn't it? More?
Or maybe it's 5.
I think
Sorry,
it's
it might be
5
overall.
Like
He
I
has 3 in this series.
right. Lafreniere's been playing like lights out. And then all of a sudden, out of friggin' nowhere, Alex Wenberg. Alex Wenberg had 0 goals in the regular season since being acquired by the New York Rangers at the trade deadline.
And he didn't have many for Seattle before that.
And he has 1 overtime winner in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final, which goes back to that 1994 stat that I discussed earlier. Alex Wenberg is the first player since Mateo to score an overtime winner in the Eastern Conference Final back in 94. So the first player for the New York Rangers, the first player acquired at the trade deadline by the New York Rangers to score an overtime goal in the Eastern Conference Final.
So
It's just a shame Vancouver.
Does that make the Alex Wenberg worth the 2nd and 4th overall pick that you traded for?
Absolutely not.
4th round pick.
Absolutely not.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know if the Panthers need to tie this series up. And I think if we go down 3-1 after the performances in Game 2 and Game 3, we really should have won. I don't think we win 3 straight.
I think something I do want to add just real quick, and then Jesse, you go. Because Brett, you kind of rolled your eyes when Jesse mentioned the top 2 lines for New York. They're
Because we
not
have
performing well.
The top 2 Selke first place finisher, Sasha Barkov and Sam Reinhart, both received the most first place votes for Selke for best defensive forwards. So.
And while I actually think it's a mix of both, but if you look at the stats going back to the Carolina series, you can see that those top lines for New York have just been absent. Panarin specifically had 2 goals in that whole series. So they do need to find a way to score. But that's good for depth if you're a Rangers fan. That's the highlight.
Yeah, we're going to get so many more goals from Alex Wenberg.
I think the Panthers to probably make a change in that bottom 6. Okposo and Lorentz haven't played in 5 games. So I think you probably see them show back up just because the Rangers' depth has been what's beating us. So
do either of you think Rempe has made a big enough impact to warrant any of this, or do you think Paul Maurice was right where he basically said, "Who is this?"
Can it be no to both questions?
Yes. One thing I don't know if you saw, Jacob Trouba was fined $5,000 for elbowing Evan Rodriguez
in the shoulder.
Paul Maurice said, and I quote, "Take the hat, pass it around. Poor lad won't be able to eat tonight." Is what Paul Maurice said. Quote machine. I love it. So, 5K to drop in a bucket for someone who makes, I think, $8 million. So,
well, my whole thing after that elbow, which it was a pretty bad elbow, but
to the shoulder,
like Paul Maurice said, nobody's been arrested, so everything's fine.
That's another Maurice quote. He's great.
I think, just to speak real quick on the Eastern Conference Finals, I think New York has done a good job answering the Panthers' grit. In the first game, I think they just kind of got beat around. And then game 2, game 3, they're like, okay, we're going to respond and we're going to make Florida make silly mistakes, get over aggressive, and it's kind of paying off. They do have to find a way to put more pucks on the net. That's something we talked about on Twitter, which if you're on Facebook or on Twitter, we do spaces every so often. We talk about stuff. And we talked about that. Put more shots on net.
There was an instance yesterday in the game where Artemi Panarin was carrying the puck through the neutral zone, trying to get into the offensive zone, and he just got sandwiched by 2 Florida Panthers players, and he just went, and it looked like he died. Like, it was just miserable to watch. Like, I don't know what's going on with him, but disgusting.
It's because he's best friends with Bobrovsky, so he doesn't want to.
That's got to be
You
it.
see that quote?
Yeah.
And here's another thing that's related to that. Vincent Trocheck wears number 16 because of Sasha Barkov.
I saw
Like,
that
wow.
also.
So they're all friends out there.
Apparently.
He said he said that when he thinks of the number 16, he thinks of greatness because that's the number Barkov wore, which I thought was an awesome quote.
So just getting back to the Rempe thing real quick, like he might not have made a difference in the game, but I watched enough of game 3 that he got the crowd into it, which is exactly what you need in the home.
You got
I'm
the
sorry.
Florida
He got the
crowd?
Florida Panthers crowd
Me
into
too,
it.
I fixed it before you caught it.
Well, I mean, like 75% of those crowd was New York Rangers
Snowbirds.
fans.
The Snowbirds.
The people who were there said it, and it's still not great, but they said like maybe 20-25%.
Yeah.
You
The
saw
Florida
all red
Panthers
jerseys.
Actually, yeah, the Florida Panthers actually play in Mullet Arena, so it looks like it's full. It's great.
Well, you see a bunch of red jerseys. Those are actually the New York Rangers alternate jerseys,
Yes.
where it's red primary, blue secondary.
South Florida
That would
fans
be
show
disgusting.
up for the playoffs. They won't show up if your team sucks and in
How
the
many,
but they
how
will
many
still
playoff games did you go to, Brad?
I'm sorry, I don't have the kind of extra money.
Oh, this
Right.
team,
Go-
this team, I'm not
Going-
the Bruins, don't worry.
Going back to the Rempe thing, I mean, the Rangers are like 24-3-1 with Rempe in the lineup, so
It's crazy.
that
is insane.
I don't think that he's done enough in the game to warrant him being in the lineup. I think that stat alone just is deserving of him being in the lineup. So just keep him in. Just keep him in. Let him play
Something about him
2 minutes.
Something about him being in there seems to energize the Rangers roster, if anything else.
Did you see the
Tampers down. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you see the end of the game yesterday when Wenberg got that OT winner and Rempe came off the bench and he was accosted by 2 Florida Panthers players as they were leaving the ice? He one of them hit him with his stick or something like that. I'll send you the video. It was funny. They were going after him for some reason. He wasn't even on the ice. He hadn't been on the ice for 60 minutes prior to that.
It makes Bennett and players like that think twice about doing stupid stuff. You know what I mean? He's a big body. He's not the talent out there. He's the muscle, and that's exactly what you need in a series like this. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's say Edmonton wins against Dallas. Hopefully not. But you won't see him out there when you need speed in a lineup. You know what I mean? You might see him out there against Dallas because of the Jamie Benn factor, but I don't think you'd see him if it's an Edmonton series, assuming New York wins.
I agree with Cass. I think Rempe's making an impact without the statistics to back it up. Jamie Benn, for the last few years, he's had peaks and valleys. And the one thing that he leads well in is he's gritty. He drives the oomph factor in a game. And I think Rempe does that well. Nothing is as egregious as that first goal that the Rangers scored in game 2.
It wasn't game
was
1.
A crazy scrum in front of the net. It looked like Trocheck, maybe? Someone said something behind the goal to a Panther as they passed, and all hell broke loose. Kachuk was taking, I think, Zabinajad, maybe? No. I don't know who it was. It looked like he was choking him down to the ice. And then
I don't remember who it was. I think it was Trocheck.
I think it was Trocheck. Yeah.
Gosh. Did you see that goal yesterday? The first goal by I think it was the first goal by Lafreniere, or maybe the second goal by Lafreniere, where he got knocked over as he scored and kicked Bobrovsky in the face.
No,
That looked pretty dangerous. It was good to see that Bob was okay, but he was down on the ice for a little bit after that. Did you see that, Brett?
I only watched the Panthers goals.
So no. I'll have to send you guys the
he
video.
was at the beach. He was at the beach.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He was doing much better things. I was sitting up here in this very room crying as the Panthers came back. So at least he got to enjoy himself while my heart was exploding. But I'll send.
Team won.
Thank God. They didn't deserve it, dude. They haven't deserved either of those wins.
I think the last thing I would say about this series, it's a stat, Brett, you said somewhere about the Panthers. Was it that they're the least penalized team, or it was something about
I didn't bring that
penalties?
up.
Oh,
No, I thought about the
Someone said that.
winometer and crap.
no, it was like in chat. I thought.
Wouldn't be surprised if they draw the most penalties.
No,
for that
that's
kinda
what it
team.
was. It was something shocking. Like they have the least amount of penalty kills in the postseason, or something like that.
Oh,
I don't
because
know.
they Bruins only scored one power play goal on them.
Well, that doesn't mean they didn't have penalty kills.
He said the least amount of penalty. I don't know, but regardless,
While he looks that up, I'll kind of
Let's talk about
segue
the
us into
future
into
Stanley
my
Cup
stuff.
champs.
Yeah, that's right. Woo woo. Game 3 is tonight, coming up here in 4 hours, and
Asleep.
it's a series tied 1-1. Dallas lost the first game 4-3 in double overtime. It really was just first overtime because Connor McDavid scored 32 seconds into the second overtime. But it was 2 overtimes, and that game was interesting. Dallas has, so here's a stat. Dallas has not won game 1 of a series since the 2020 Stanley Cup Finals. So that is 7 rounds where they have dropped the first game. It's worked out for 6, I'd say 5 of those. Lost in the Western Conference Final last year, but we've made it this year, all losing game 1. So the fact that they rallied and almost took that game was promising. But the thing about Dallas is they adjust. So you lose that first game. Look at the Colorado series. Lost in overtime, game 1, bounced back hard. Went up 3-1. I'm happy where the Stars are at. I think we have Edmonton right where we want them.
We can definitely still talk about Edmonton and Dallas. Here's a quick update on the stats. So Edmonton has the best penalty kill and has allowed the least amount of power play goals out of teams left. So I don't know if that was the stat related. They've gone a long time without allowing a power play goal, but the Panthers are number 1 in power play opportunities so far this postseason. Edmonton is second.
You're saying that the Panthers have been given the most power play opportunities? That's what you said?
Yes.
That's surprising.
And that's crazy because in the Tampa series, it was not like that. Tampa had the power play advantage, but ever since then, Florida's definitely had a little bit.
The Bruins gifted him too many men on the ice penalty, so that probably doesn't help that stat.
That's true. I think that tonight is going to be the make or break for whoever loses this series. I don't know. I don't feel like either team has really shown that they want it more. I think that both teams have been playing kind of safe. Connor McDavid hasn't really been doing much. I mean, he did get that goal in overtime. He's got a lot of assists and he's showing up on the ice, but he just hasn't been the Connor McDavid. He just hasn't been the Connor McDavid that you've seen in previous years.
Yeah.
Well, to emphasize that point, Miro Heiskanen, I think can keep up with Connor McDavid. The fact that Chris Tanev has been keeping up with him as well is kind of a telltale sign that McDavid is not 100%. But then again, who is? who out on the ice in any of these games for East and West, who's 100%? There's no way anyone is.
Igor
Um,
Shesterkin.
You're playing like 2 games. You're playing every other day basically, and you've already played a full 82 game season, getting very little rest.
and travel.
And lots of travel. I mean, Florida and New York, that's not nothing. Dallas and Edmonton is insane. Yeah. I think, you said that they were playing safe hockey, Jesse, and that just resonated with me because I was covering for us game 2, and I just started
Right.
thinking, like, why am I bored? Like, I I'm normally not bored when watching hockey, especially with that game starting with those quick Jamie Benn snipes it low, and then Edmonton responds really quickly. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a high scoring, high octane game, and then just like so little happened for so long.
It happens early in the first, and then like the whole second period is just a snoozer for both of the games.
It was.
And then third period, it's just a matter of
Who's gonna break through?
intense, like who's gonna do it, and how much time will be left on the clock when they do it. Edmonton, my biggest beef. Oh, and then just to recap, game 2, yeah, Dallas wins 2-1 in regular time, and they shut it down really well. They shut it down in the third
did.
period, just like they did against Vegas in Game 7. I was super happy about that. Instead of the turtle that never works, see Colorado Game 1, where we blew a 3-0 lead, and it.
You were there,
Edmonton-
weren't you?
Yeah, I sure was.
How was that?
For the Colorado one and the Edmonton game.
No, I'm just talking about game 2. Yeah, how was the win? How was the atmosphere after that win?
It was great. Like you texted me and you were asking if I was.
That
nervous or
was
anything.
maybe about 2 hours before you responded to me.
Yeah, I wasn't really. On
No,
my
I get it.
page.
That's fine. That makes sense.
The first period, it was a little more worrisome because Dallas was just not really clicking. It was a back and forth. But after that, Dallas really outplayed Edmonton for periods 2 and 3. So once we got the second goal, I was fairly confident.
I'm
I've
glad you
always
said
want
that,
one more.
Ethan, because you didn't get to hear them, and if you did, you would have been. I don't know if you would have been pissed. I don't know how much it affects you, but the commentators during the game said, "Man, Edmonton's basically dominated this entire game. Not sure how they got." I'm like, they dominated the second half of the first period, but that's about it. Like,
The broadcasts are. It's Connor McDavid. I mean, what do you expect?
That was the
And
that was the is that ESPN that's doing that or TNT?
TNT.
I think that was Max or TNT.
Yeah,
whatever.
TNT.
I watched it on Max, but
But that kind of goes into my whole gripe about Edmonton and the media and the way it's being covered. It's a penalty gripe fest. I thought Edmonton got away with quite a bit in game 2, and I thought game 1 was called fairly well.
There
it's
were there were a few calls because I know you had texted me afterwards after the game ended about that particular issue with penalties being missed, and there were 2 that I immediately thought of. I don't remember the exact instances, but 2 that I immediately thought of where I was like, that should be a trip or that should be roughing, and nothing, like the play just carried on, and it was like, if that was done against Edmonton, they would have been called for that.
Yeah. And if all the games went like that, where there were some missed trips that Dallas could have gone on the power play, but they're not called, and for the most part of that game, up until the last 3 minutes of the game, each side got 1 penalty each. And they let them play. And if they're going to do that, I'm cool with it because I think we're a better team. And if you look at I watched the post-game interview with what's-his-face, Edmonton's coach, not Woodcroft anymore.
Knobloch.
Yeah. The post-game interview, he basically said, we want it to be we want the officiating to be called like the regular season. Because if you look at the regular season, we won most of our games from the power play. So we're a little upset that in the playoffs, they're letting things go. It's like, yeah.
That happens
That's
every
how
year.
it works. If you're relying on getting calls to win your games, I can understand how you're frustrated you're not getting calls. Just
That
be
was
better.
that was a big reason why I picked Dallas over Edmonton here is because Edmonton really lives and dies by their power play. And you're just not gonna get as many chances.
Yeah, and it hasn't been great. The few chances they have had,
Yeah, no,
2
you're right.
chances.
They've been great at stopping it anyway. So
I think we have them right where we want them. I think Edmonton fans are the whiniest bunch of people out there.
Can you elaborate why you think that?
It's just a matter of it doesn't matter if they win or lose. They're going to complain about penalties. They complained about them after game 1 that they won the game. They complained about them after game 2 that I think it was actually lopsided the other way. And then I'm just going to get on my soapbox real quick. That way I can get it out.
That's fine. That's what I wanted.
La Bamba is a 1938 Mexican folk song, and you don't have the rights to just make it your own personal story because your fan base has a story behind it that's very heartfelt, and I appreciate. But if you're gonna just claim the Dallas Stars intentionally used the song because it's jabbing at a kid who died from cancer, come on. And the worst part is also a lot of these fans who are griping about it, they don't even have the story right because La Bamba was not started for Ben Stilter, I think is his last
Settler,
name.
yeah.
sounds right. Yeah.
That was not where La Bamba started. It was actually a fan named Joey who had Down syndrome. And Ben he made the quote, "Play La Bamba, baby," for Joey. So all these Edmonton fans, they're like, "Oh, Dallas knew the story. Dallas knew the story." They knew it was all about Ben. It's like, you don't even know the story because it wasn't about Ben.
I did not know the story. And even to that point, the DJ apologized for not for playing it, but for making it for people that made it seem like it was intentionally jabbing at that other issue. And he even donated, if I remember correctly, to Ben Stetler's charity, a charity that is made in his name. So, I mean, I don't really think that it was intentional. I don't think that it was meant to jab at anybody for that. It was just a trolling move that the DJ does after every game that they win. It seems like that's a thing.
If there's a song for it, like let's assume, I don't think the Panthers have a song. Do you guys have a win song?
We had some Miami DJ make a song that just started this year, just called "Go Cats Go."
Oh, okay.
Pretty basic, but we have a song now.
But like
So
let's say
I'll give you an example. 2019 Blues use Gloria.
Yeah.
Their win song.
Yeah. So
I mean-
if the Stars beat the Blues in the playoffs, we played Gloria after our win song. If we matched up with the Rangers next round, he's going to play New York, New York by Frank Sinatra after our win song to troll New York. It's just a thing he does. What really upsets me is that he's not going to play La Bamba anymore, whereas my personality type is like, just play it louder.
I would agree.
The other last bit.
Bulletin board for Edmonton Oilers now, though.
The last bit of irony in the whole thing is, one, the version of La Bamba that Edmonton plays is a created version for Edmonton. It's not actually La Bamba. It is like their version of La Bamba. So that's one. The other thing, which is so ironic, is the lyrics. The lyrics of La Bamba are to dance the bamba, you need a little grace. So Edmonton, show a little grace, for goodness sake. All right, I'm done.
You mentioned some whining, not so much about that, but whining about penalties and calls and all that. And that's just something I've seen come out of every fan base these playoffs. And I just am shocked that people just can't keep their team accountable. Like even Panthers fans, like they're blaming like the rest for not giving us this call. And I'm like, we had 6 power plays of the Rangers too. Like, it's just like your team needs to perform. I don't know why people go straight to blaming anyone other than their team for not being able to finish. Like, why can't people just accept that, hey, your team did not play well? Why is that never an option? I am always quick to
Sometimes
blame
a call
players.
changes the game, though.
I agree with that.
Come
You disagree with that?
I'm saying I've seen the Panthers have calls go against them, and I never call back to that. You got to finish your chances when you're given them. I don't know. That's how I
If a
like
game, if
with
the game's tied 1-1 with 3 minutes left and it becomes a power play when it shouldn't, or vice versa, it could definitely change the game flow. If it's a 6-2 game and they call a penalty that's BS, that's a different story. You know what I mean?
I just
fair
sent
enough.
a
I
meme
just
that
I
I
just
made about
I,
this. If you want to look at it.
I'm just
What?
never someone who blames anyone other than the players.
I made a meme and I posted it in our chat. I need to post this actually, but it's your team just lost. Do you A, complain about penalties, B, complain about
Yeah.
penalties, C, complain about penalties, or D, all of the above? It's just the nature of it. Ironically, the Minnesota Timberwolves NBA, they're down 3-0
that
to
working?
Dallas, and they're complaining about penalties.
Since we've been doing these live tweets, these live tweetings of the games, it has made me hate every fan base. Every single fan base. There is not one fan base that I like right now. So
Even your own, probably.
even
because I feel the same way.
I absolutely hate my own team's fan base, but I've hated my own team's fan base for a long time. So, I mean, there was that incident a couple years ago when the Tampa Bay Lightning fan got sucker punched as he was walking out of MSG by a guy who was from Staten Island. So that didn't help.
We got into this in the Freeze the Puck hockey chat, and there are some crazy stories. Our Yotes admin, I guess now Utah whatever admin,
She's undeclared.
She talked about a fan. It was at a Bruins game at Mullet Arena, and a fan bit a Bruins fan's finger off.
Gracious.
After
Not just
sucker
bit it
punching a
off?
woman. Yeah.
That sounds like a
That
thing
is
you would see at a New York Rangers game.
So that's the thing. If your team wins the cup, it's not just their effort. We as fans put in effort. I mean, come on. But
Oh, boy.
yeah,
I want more
that-
fan
that's
fights.
it.
Give me more fan
Fan
fights.
fights are great.
Love them.
This is exactly why I stay home.
Who do you guys
I want
since
no
it's
part of
tonight?
any of this.
Since
What'd
it's
you ask,
tonight, who do
Ethan?
you guys think will win?
I think
Game
Dallas
3.
wins.
I mean, yeah, me
I
too.
hope Dallas wins.
I'm
Need
gonna
the first goal though.
give it to Edmonton 3-1.
Okay, Jesse.
right,
We already knew
moving
you
on.
suck.
Do you guys
Dallas
want to do
is
our final question?
is the last thing I'll say about Dallas.
Okay.
They are the best road team in these playoffs. Colorado, they were the best home team in regular season, and they lost every home game against the Stars. So I'm expecting this game to be more of a blowout. And I might have egg on my face here in 5 hours, 6 hours.
I'm gonna save this
Watch
replay.
out for the spaces.
I just saved the replay.
Yes,
Um,
Brett, ask your question.
So yeah, just one last final question. I figured this be, I don't know, kind of fun to talk about. Just pick one Conn Smythe winner from each team, and it could be who you think is going to win it or who would win it if it was awarded now, depending on how you want to think about it. From just so one player from the 4 remaining teams. Cass, you're the only one here whose team is not in it, so let's start with you.
Bergeron. No. Miro Heiskanen. Am I going all 4 teams or just
Yeah,
one
let's do
player?
all 4. Let's do all 4.
Oh shit.
Oh boy.
I'm
Forsling?
prepared.
I like that pick.
Trocheck and Bouchard.
Bouchard. I really like the pick of Forsling because he's kind of like he's not going to put up a ton of points. I mean, he's scored some crazy goals, but yeah, the
It's either that or
defensive value,
Barkov. Like no one else
Right.
in the forward
Yeah.
group has like stuck out for me.
which is crazy because Kachuk is like tied for 4th in points for the playoffs, but just his impact hasn't felt as big as Barkov or
Right.
Forsling.
Last year. Ethan,
Yeah, Ethan. Yeah, I was thinking Ethan next.
I'm trying to find the graphic for the stat. I again, I think you were the one who posted it, Brett, but maybe it wasn't. It was about Miro Heiskanen. That's my pick for Dallas. It was something like he's played over 200 minutes in the playoffs and has not been on the ice for a goal. It's
That's disgusting.
mind blowing. I think he's at like 208 minutes or something. Or maybe that's just for the last 10 games. I need to find it. Go to
It's
someone
something
else.
impressive. Well, I can give mine because I don't know if Jesse's ready yet.
His,
But I'm
his average time on ice is 28 minutes. So depending on how many games he played, multiply that by that, and there you go.
Yeah, so I was also gonna go Heiskanen for Dallas since Conn Smythe winner. He's their top scorer and he's a defenseman, so that's huge. For Florida, I'd pick Barkov. He's scored the goals when he's needed to, clearly doing a lot on the defensive side. For the Rangers, and like Jesse said, Trocheck hasn't had a great series this point, but so far, I think Trocheck's been their best player. We'll see if it stays that way as this series progresses and if they do advance. And then for Edmonton, I think Bouchard I was picking Draisaitl, but I don't know. Bouchard's a good pick because, I mean, the dude, just similar to Heiskanen, defenseman who's putting up a crazy number of points. But I'll stick with Draisaitl.
Okay, so this isn't the stat I saw, but like Cass said, 28 minutes and 15 seconds average time on ice per game. He has a
Crazy.
0 plus minus. Also has put in 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points. And so that plus minus is not I don't think he's been on the ice for any goals, but that would make him plus 5 at least.
Oh, he's been on the ice for 5 against.
Yeah, or 14. Because he has 14 points.
Isn't plus minus goals?
Well, yeah, but it's a plus if you get a goal.
Yeah, but he
minus if you are on the ice
Right.
against. So if he's at a plus 0 so far, then yeah.
How come it's not a minus 0?
Yeah, it should be.
NHL.
It should be a minus 0.
You just call it even.
Yeah, I'm going Heiskanen
That's
for
a
the
joke,
Stars. For the Oilers, I would say Draisaitl. For the Panthers, it's hard to not go Barkov. I'll go Barkov. And then for the Rangers, Matt Rempe? No.
Yeah, give it to Rempe. Give it to Rempe.
I,
We won't be here without him.
Trocheck?
He does lead them in points, so it's
I've got 2 of the 4 that are the same as you guys. So for Edmonton Oilers, I chose Draisaitl. For Florida Panthers, I also chose Barkov. For the Rangers, I have to give it to Shesterkin. I mean, without him, we are not anywhere near the Eastern Conference Final. I feel. I mean, he has been lights out every series that he's played. He didn't really he wasn't really needed in Washington, but against Carolina and definitely against the Florida Panthers, he's been lights out. And for Dallas Stars, I'm going to give it to Wyatt Johnston. I feel like he has been a little bit more impactful when he's needed to be. I feel like his goals have been more important than anyone else's. And I mean, he's just been a great overall player. So that's where I'm at on that.
That's a good second pick. I was torn.
no. I don't think there's any
Shesterkin didn't
surprises
even,
there.
like-
All good picks.
I didn't even think it's just Shesterkin. I completely blanked on that. I thought of Wyatt Johnson. I thought of Zach Hyman too, but
Yeah.
here's a little question for you guys that I kind of looked at. Who has the most salary cap going into next season? If you had to take a guess,
Like of
Cap
all
space,
32
yeah.
teams?
all 32 teams.
Feels like Vegas is the easy pick, but because you're asking, I feel like it's not Vegas. So
I
who
think
it's
it's
not.
Chicago.
knows? No way.
Dang it.
Who's high?
Jesse, you got a guess?
Is it Philly?
It is not. Utah.
Utah.
It's $41 million of cap space,
It was a trick question.
followed by San Jose has 36.8.
Oh, I misheard it. The
That's
the
right.
most cap space available.
Yes.
I thought
Yes.
you said who's like got the highest cap. Sorry.
Oh no, that's. I just saw that too. Hold on. That was. I think it's Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. No, Buffalo's
Buffalo.
got plenty. Nope, just kidding. That was a lie.
Toronto, surely.
No, Philly. Philly
Oh.
has 0.56 million in cap space.
Jeez. Well, I was
What the
far
heck?
off.
Yeah.
Wow.
What
Oh.
was Utah's?
They had like 40
41
mil, right?
million. 41.3 million. Oh.
Chicago's 33.7. I was kind of up.
Chicago's 33.59 according to this.
Oh.
Oh.
See, I'm confused by cap friendly
I'm
because
pretty
I was just gonna say because it's showing projected cap hit at 53 still. I don't know.
I don't know.
So I just sent it to you guys, but this is what I use. But it's interesting because it says LTIR eligible is Shea Weber at 7.86 mil too. So I don't know if that includes that in that number, or if they still can put that on LTIR and have more cap space.
40,
It's wild.
48 mil potentially.
Yeah, it's wild.
Ridiculous.
Wait, who's he with? I thought he's not with Montreal anymore.
No, they traded
with
his
Arizona.
salary to Arizona, now Utah. And because all contracts transferred to Utah, he's
All
Wild.
theirs.
So that's it. Go Stars.
Well, go Stars. Everyone
Go
else, come on.
Panthers.
Okay.
Go Stars too. I'm rooting for them over
Hey,
there in the
all right,
West.
yeah.
I only want the Stars to win because I definitely don't want any Canadian team to hoist the Stanley Cup.
And they won't.
And they won't. I'm just a bitter American. That does it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Jesse.
This is Brett.
This is Cass.
And this was Ethan. La Bamba, baby.
Have a good week, everybody.
Freaking no.